1. The story of the beggar. Once, there was a beggar who went out to beg every day. He really wanted to change his fate and live a more normal life, so he saved up a little bit of food every day as he begged. However, even after many years, he had only managed to save a little. He didn't understand what was happening. Suspicious that someone knew where he hid his stash, one night he hid in a corner to watch. He saw a large rat eating the food he had worked so hard to save. He was furious, jumped out, and shouted, "Why don't you steal food from the rich who have plenty instead of from me?" Suddenly, the rat spoke. "This is all the fate you have. You can't change it by just wandering around." Stunned, the beggar asked the rat why. The rat told him, "I don't know. Why don't you go ask the Buddha?" So the beggar decided to ask the Buddha what was wrong with his fate that he couldn't change it. The next day, he set out on his journey, begging along the way. After traveling a long distance, one evening he saw a house as it was getting dark and knocked on the door. A caretaker came out and asked what he wanted, and he said he was looking for some food. Just then, the homeowner came out and asked why he was still out so late. The beggar explained he was on his way to seek answers from the Buddha. The homeowner quickly invited him in, gave him a lot of dried food and some money. The beggar asked the homeowner why he did this. The homeowner explained that his 16-year-old daughter had been mute all her life and asked the beggar to inquire about her condition from the Buddha. The homeowner had even promised that anyone who could make his daughter speak would marry her. The beggar, thinking he was going to see the Buddha anyway, agreed to help. The beggar continued his journey through many mountain paths. Reaching a mountain, he found a temple and went in to ask for water. An old but alert monk gave him water, told him to rest, and asked where he was going. The beggar explained his destination. The old monk also asked him to inquire something from the Buddha for him. He had been practicing for over 500 years and thought he should have ascended to a better place by now, wondering why he hadn't. The beggar agreed to ask for him too. As he continued his journey, facing many challenges, he reached a big river with no boat in sight. He cried out loud, feeling doomed by his fate. Suddenly, a giant turtle surfaced and asked why he was crying. The beggar recounted his tale. The turtle, who had been practicing for over 1,000 years and thought it should have transformed into a dragon by now, asked the beggar to inquire from the Buddha on its behalf. The beggar agreed happily. After many days, the beggar was confused and distressed and fell asleep by the roadside. Suddenly, in his dream, the Buddha appeared. The Buddha asked him about his important question since he had traveled so far. The beggar thought his own issues seemed trivial after such a long journey, and he felt less resentful about his fate. He decided to ask about the turtle, the old monk, and the homeowner's daughter instead. The Buddha explained that the turtle was attached to its shell, which prevented it from becoming a dragon. Inside the shell were 24 pearls. If it shed the shell, it could transform. For the old monk, the Buddha said he was too attached to his precious staff, which was actually a treasure. If he let go of it, he would find a better place. Lastly, the Buddha said the mute girl would speak upon seeing her destined husband. The beggar woke up feeling fulfilled. He hurried back. When he reached the river, the turtle quickly asked what the Buddha had said. After crossing the river, the beggar explained, and the turtle transformed into a dragon, leaving the beggar the 24 pearls. The beggar continued his journey, returning to the temple where he informed the old monk, who then joyfully ascended into the clouds. Finally, returning to the homeowner's place, the daughter suddenly spoke upon seeing him. The homeowner was overjoyed and arranged for them to marry. Thus, by putting others before himself, the beggar changed his fate from that of a beggar. Today, if we can choose between our interests and those of others, sincerely offering more to others, blessings might come in unexpected ways. 2. The Tale of Twin Brothers, Destiny and Choices. Long ago, there were twin brothers named CONFUCIUS and CONFUCIUS, who were so similar in speech, behavior, and intelligence that they seemed like one person. A Taoist sage named Tran He Di, after examining their features, commented, "Both of you have blue eyebrows and beautiful eyes, typical of successful scholars. Moreover, your eyes are bright and colorful, indicating high achievements to come." When the local exams came around, the brothers went to the capital and stayed with a relative. In their neighborhood lived a young and beautiful widow. CONFUCIUS focused solely on his studies, undisturbed by distractions. However, CONFUCIUS could not restrain himself and had an affair with the widow, who, after being discovered, was so ashamed that she jumped into the river and took her own life. After the autumn exams, Tran He Di noticed a significant change in the brothers' appearances. He said, "CONFUCIUS, your eyebrows have turned purple, and your eyes are shining brightly. You are destined for high honors. But CONFUCIUS, your eyes have swollen, your nose has become shorter and darker, and you look exhausted and dispirited. This is a clear sign of moral decline and indicates not only a failure in the exams, but also an early death." As predicted, CONFUCIUS failed the exams and died bitterly. CONFUCIUS, on the other hand, became a high-ranking official, celebrated and respected, with many descendants. Reflecting on this, Tran He Di remarked, "It is easy to observe a person's appearance, but predicting someone's fate is much more challenging, as fate is determined by the heavens, and one's appearance is shaped by their actions. If one aligns with the will of heaven and harmonizes their actions with others, they will surely prosper through the generations." 3. Virtue conquers fate. There's an old saying that virtue conquers fate. It suggests that by accumulating good deeds and behaving virtuously, a person can change their destiny, turn misfortune into fortune, and attract wealth and luck. During the Qing dynasty, there was a man named Lam Dong Truong living in Gia Chao, Taiwan province. He was naturally kind-hearted and treated everyone with sincerity and love. Unfortunately, he was falsely accused and imprisoned. His wife sold all their possessions and even had to sell their children to gather 40 silver taels to bail him out. On her way to pay the ransom, she was shocked to find that the money had vanished from her bag. The lost silver was found by a disabled beggar named Tu Luong Tu. Holding the money, Tu was overjoyed but also troubled, thinking that whoever lost such a large amount could be driven to despair or even suicide. Though poor and in need, he valued human life above all and decided to wait by the roadside for the owner to return. Sure enough, Lam Dong Truong's wife appeared soon after, frantically searching everywhere for her lost money. Recognizing her distress, Tu approached to confirm her loss and returned all the money. She was deeply grateful and hurried off to rescue her husband. The magistrate, aware of the wrongful accusation and moved by the beggar's integrity and the family's plight, decided to release Lam without accepting any ransom. Overjoyed, Lam and his wife returned home, and with the remaining silver, they were able to buy back their children and start a hardware store. They never forgot their benefactor's kindness, praying for him daily and helping others in need. As for the beggar, Tu Luong Tu, after returning the silver, he spent the night in a temple where he dreamt of being healed by two figures in golden armor. He woke up to find his legs miraculously healed, allowing him to walk normally again. He stopped begging and started earning his living by carrying water. Despite the hard work, he was happy to lead a normal life. Lam Dong Truong and his wife prospered in their business due to their honesty and charitable actions. One day, Tu happened to pass by their shop. Recognizing him, Lam's wife hesitated but eventually approached him to confirm his identity. Overjoyed, they invited him to stay with them. Luang-tu thus found a home and no longer worried about his livelihood, thanks to the generosity of the Lam family. Later, when the Lams returned to their ancestral home in Guangdong, they left their entire estate and business to Tu. He, in turn, donated part of his wealth to hospitals to help the sick and poor. Though once a poor, disabled beggar, Tu's virtuous actions had touched the divine, earning him blessings. This story illustrates the power of virtue to transform fate and shows that with enough goodness, nothing is impossible, and miracles can manifest in our lives.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
4. The Rice Merchant. Living amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life, a man dedicated his entire life to the rice trade. Despite daily dealings with money and the temptations of profit, he maintained his noble nature, characterized by calmness and moderation. In his later years, he was blessed for his virtues. During the Tang dynasty in Guangling, Jiangyang, there was a rice merchant who spent his life in the trade without any formal religious or magical training. Yet, he achieved enlightenment and ascended from this world at the end of his life. His name was engraved on a stone wall in the heavenly cave. In Jiangyang, a family earned their living by selling rice, a business passed down to Li Jiao, who inherited and continued the family enterprise. Li Jiao was known for his integrity, meticulousness, and diligence, setting him apart from others. At the age of 15, Li Jiao joined his father in the business, which his father handed over to him due to other commitments. Li Jiao was responsible for the rice sales, and he would give each customer a standard measuring container and let them measure the rice themselves. The price of rice varied with the seasons, but Li Jiao never calculated his sales based on these variations. He earned a modest profit of just 2 coins per measure, enough to support his elderly parents. Li Jiao's approach to business might have seemed naive. He missed opportunities to make more money by not engaging in deceitful practices like other merchants. Despite this, his family's financial situation was stable and they lived comfortably without worry. Eventually, his father noticed the prosperity of their family and asked Li Jiao how he managed to do so well. Li Jiao shared his honest business methods. His father was impressed, noting that many merchants use different measures for buying and selling to gain more profit. He admired that Li Jiao used the same measure for both, allowing customers to serve themselves, demonstrating fairness and integrity. He credited their well-being to divine help. Later in life, after his parents passed away, Li Jiao, at the age of 80, continued to manage the family business. Due to a name coincidence with a high-ranking official, he changed his name to Li Koan to avoid confusion. After the official moved to Huainan, he dreamt of a vivid scene entering a cave with fireworks and colorful clouds, where he saw his name inscribed on a wall. He was thrilled, thinking his merits had earned him a place among immortals. When he woke up, he sought out the immortal, who shared his name but found none. Later, someone from the village informed him that Li Koan was actually Li Jiao. The official invited Li Jiao to his residence and treated him with great respect, asking about any magical practices he might have followed. Li Jiao honestly replied that he had only been a rice merchant all his life, unconcerned with personal gain and always prioritizing his customers' interests. The official remarked that Li Jiao's ability to conduct business so honorably was a significant moral achievement. Li Jiao lived a long life, immersed in the worldly challenges of the rice trade but remained unswayed by personal gains. He passed away peacefully at over 100 years old. Folklore says that 3 days after his death, his coffin opened, and his body had disappeared, signifying his ascension to a higher realm. 5. ZHUANGZI and the Fateful Journey. Once upon a time, there was a scholar named ZHUANGZI who, along with a few classmates, took a boat to the capital city to participate in the imperial examinations. One day, while their boat was docked, they encountered a fortune-teller. The fortune-teller examined ZHUANGZI's appearance and warned him, "Your eyes lack focus, your nose is red, and your complexion is as gray as a pig's liver, all bad signs. This trip to the capital will not only result in failure in your exams, but it could also bring grave danger. It might be best for you to return home." Though slightly upset, ZHUANGZI, being a gentle and learned man, thanked the fortune-teller and chose not to dwell on his words. The next day, on the upper deck of the boat, a woman accidentally dropped a gold bracelet into the river while throwing water. The bracelet got stuck in a gap on the boat's edge and was secretly pocketed by a sailor. Later, a loud noise came from the upper deck as the owner discovered her bracelet missing and accused the maid of theft, scolding her loudly. Unable to prove her innocence, the distressed maid attempted to drown herself by jumping into the river. ZHUANGZI, an excellent swimmer, immediately jumped in after her and managed to save her. He then discreetly found the sailor and persuaded him to return the bracelet. ZHUANGZI's actions not only cleared the maid's name but also prevented the sailor from being branded a thief, demonstrating a perfect resolution for both parties. Due to a severe storm, the boat was delayed at the dock for more than 10 days. Coincidentally, the same fortune-teller reappeared. Upon seeing ZHUANGZI, he studied him for a moment, then clasped his hands and said, "Young master, your good deeds have turned misfortune into fortune. You've transformed an ominous presence into a benevolent one, which is truly commendable." ZHUANGZI, puzzled, asked, "Why do you say that?" The fortune-teller explained, "Your nose previously appeared red but has now turned a pale yellow. Your eyebrows have a purple sheen and are smooth, and your eyes shine brightly like those of a dragon. Your face radiates a multicolored light, a sign that the star of literature has appeared. This ensures you will succeed in the upcoming exams." ZHUANGZI shook his head and replied, "Due to the storm, we've been delayed here for days. Even if we set sail today, we won't arrive in time for the exams. How can I think of fame then?" The fortune-teller took another close look at ZHUANGZI's face and confidently said, "Observing your expression, I see it has shifted from misfortune to fortune. You are destined to pass these exams and have a bright future. Even if you're late, you might receive special favor from the emperor. You must go." Encouraged, ZHUANGZI decided to proceed to the capital. Upon his arrival, he learned that the examination hall had caught fire, and all the students' scripts were destroyed. The emperor ordered a re-examination, thus giving ZHUANGZI another chance to participate. Indeed, under the guidance of the star of literature, ZHUANGZI topped the exams, becoming the top scholar. Before the results were announced, children were heard singing, "If the hall hadn't burned down, how could there be a scholar Xu?" implying that if not for the fire, ZHUANGZI would not have become the top scholar. 6. Build good karma for future generations. We often hear sayings like, "A family that does good deeds will be blessed. A family that doesn't will face misfortune." This means that individuals and families who do good deeds and build good karma will experience blessings, while those who do evil and lack virtue will face calamities. Our ancestors valued building good karma for their descendants more than leaving them wealth. A father's misdeeds bring disaster to his children. In Daohua village, Suzhou City, there was a man named Khan who was arrogant because of his strength. Everyone in the village avoided him. He had a dispute with a man named Gyap and gathered his friends to beat him up. Frightened, Gyap rushed to tell Khan's father-in-law, who said, "You can't reason with a Khan, just stay away from him." Giap had no choice but to hide. Months later, Giap encountered a Khan outside and was severely beaten. Humiliated and enraged, Giap swallowed opium at home and died. Nobody in the village dared to defend him. After a Khan died, his son, Erhoashang, experienced similar misfortunes. One night he thought he saw Giap, who threatened to kill him. Terrified, he fell seriously ill. His family performed a ritual offering for Giap, and Erhoashang eventually recovered. However, the next year after seeing Giap again, Erhoashang fell ill once more. His family spent a lot of money on ritual offerings. After a long time, he recovered but was too weak to work, and his family's fortunes declined. One day, Erhoashang met Giap again but was no longer afraid. He told Giap he was miserable and wondered how he could end his suffering. Giap suggested opium. That night, Erhoashang told his family that, following Giap's advice, he had taken opium. In a sudden fit, he died. An ancestor's good karma saves his descendants. Mr. Sin, from Fujian District, Fujian Province, was the great-grandson of the official Ong II. One day, Mr. Sin fell unconscious and dreamt of entering a large mansion where he saw his great-grandfather. Ong II showed him people who were being punished for their misdeeds and instructed Mr. Sin to warn his descendants against wrongdoing. Upon waking, Mr. Sin quickly moved his family out of their old house, as advised by his great-grandfather. 3 days later, a fire destroyed their old home. Ong II was a righteous official who always thought of the people. In one instance, he successfully advocated for reducing the burden on the people by cutting down on fabric production quotas after a flood. Despite his integrity and contributions, he lived a modest life. The saying goes, "The father's debts are paid by the son." If ancestors accumulate bad karma through misdeeds, their descendants suffer. The story of a Khan is a stark example. On the other hand, Mr. Sin benefited from his ancestors' good deeds. But how many people today take these stories as a lesson to better themselves? 7. The Tale of the Sculptor. Once upon a time, there was a sculptor who loved to explore new trends. At one point, he created many sculptures of demons and monsters that looked incredibly scary. As time passed, people started noticing that his appearance was getting worse, but no one knew why. One day, he met a wise master who offered to help him. The master was confident that he could succeed, but only if the sculptor followed his advice. He asked the sculptor to carve 100 Buddha statues as a way of showing gratitude. The master also mentioned that he would start healing the sculptor as soon as he began working on the statues. Trusting the master, the sculptor agreed. From then on, the artist stopped all his current projects and started sculpting the Buddha statues. As he did so, he noticed changes in his face. After completing the 100 Buddha statues, not only did his face return to normal, but it also looked better than before. When he delivered the Buddha statues to the master said, "It wasn't me who healed you, it was you." The master explained that when the sculptor carved statues of evil beings and monsters, their images stuck in his mind. Over time, these images reflected on his face and became a part of his appearance. However, when he focused on sculpting Buddha statues, his mind filled with the images of Buddha. The grandeur, compassion, and brilliance of Buddha remained in his subconscious, naturally altering his appearance positively. By sculpting Buddha, the sculptor's mind was corrected, and his appearance returned to its original state. This phenomenon is known as the mind creates the form. It can be said that humans are like a vessel. If you fill it with dirty water, it becomes a dirty vessel. If you fill it with clean water, it becomes a clean vessel. The accumulation of good or bad over time can go unnoticed until it's too late to realize. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 8. The story of accumulating virtue and changing fate. Mr. Liu Pham shared his personal experiences and many proven examples of changing one's fate with his son, Vian Thien Kai. He taught his son that one should not resign to fate but strive to change it through doing good deeds and avoiding evil acts. As the old saying goes, do not disdain small good deeds, nor commit small evils. By living this way, one can certainly change their fate. Ending evil and cultivating good can eliminate misfortune and extend life. This principle embodies the essence of changing one's fate. In his younger days, after losing his father early, his grandmother advised him to quit school and not pursue official ranks, but to study medicine and become a doctor. She said, "Learning this profession not only supports oneself, but also helps others. With high proficiency, one could become a renowned physician. This has been a guiding thought throughout your father's life." Later, while at Tuvan Temple, your father met an extraordinary old man with a majestic appearance and long, fluttering beard, who seemed to possess a divine and noble spirit. Your father respectfully greeted him. The old man asked, "You are fit for the examination next year. Why not pursue your studies?" Your father explained that his grandmother wanted him to abandon formal education for medicine. Then, your father inquired about the old man's name and residence, to which he replied, "I am surnamed Kong from Van Nam, a direct disciple of Master Trieu Quang Tiet, an expert in the divination arts of Hoang Kuk. According to the predictions, I am destined to pass on this knowledge to you." Thus, your father brought the master home and informed his grandmother. She instructed him to treat the master with great respect and suggested, "This master is an expert in divination. Try asking him to cast a divination for you and see if it holds true." Surprisingly, everything the master had predicted about past events, even the minor ones, was incredibly accurate. Inspired by the master's advice, your father considered resuming his studies, discussing it with his cousin Tom Shung, who then introduced him to a friend named Uk Hai Kok, who was teaching at Uk Hu Pu's home. Your father began his studies with Master Uk Hai Kok. On one occasion, the master predicted, "Before you gain any official rank and are still a student, you will rank 14th in the district exam, 71st in the provincial exam, and 9th in the Dahak exam." The following year, your father took 3 exams and his ranks were exactly as the master had predicted. The master also predicted his entire life's fortunes and misfortunes. He said, "You will pass the exam in a certain year, be appointed to a position in another, and eventually become a district head in Sichuan. After 3.5 years as district head, you will retire and return home. At the age of 53, you will pass away at home. Unfortunately, your fate does not include having a son." These words were carefully recorded and remembered. From then on, at each examination, the ranking was as the master had foretold. The only error in his predictions was the amount of grain your father received as district head, which was supposed to be 91 stones but initially was only 71. Unexpectedly, the endorsement for his promotion was later revoked by a higher official, delaying his promotion until another scholar reviewed his exam and felt regret at not passing him earlier, which ultimately led to his appointment. This series of events only reinforced your father's belief. The rise and fall of one's career are predestined, and success comes at its appointed time. Thus, he let go of any struggle for further ambitions. When appointed to the position according to the regulations, he had to study at the Imperial Academy in Beijing. He spent a year there, sitting quietly each day, not engaging in conversations or allowing himself to be distracted by calculations or reading materials. In the year of Kai Tai, he returned to the Imperial Academy in Nanjing, taking time before his studies to visit Master Van Kok, a highly accomplished Zen master. Your father sat in meditation opposite the master in a meditation room for 3 days and nights without sleep. Master Van Kok asked, "People fail to become saints because they continuously harbor delusions in their minds. You have sat quietly for 3 days without arising a single delusory thought. Why is that?" Your father replied, "My fate has already been determined by the master. My birth, death, successes and failures are all predetermined. There's nothing I can change. So, thinking or wishing for anything is pointless, and thus my mind is free of delusions." Master Van Kok then said, "I thought you were an enlightened man, but it turns out you are just an ordinary person blinded by fate." Confused, your father asked for clarification. Master Van Kok explained, "An ordinary person cannot escape from thoughts and desires, which are bound by the cosmic forces of yin and yang. Being bound by these forces, how can one claim to be free of fate? While it's true that fate exists, it only binds those who are ordinary. A truly virtuous person, even if destined to suffer, can transform suffering into joy and poverty into wealth through their immense virtue. Conversely, an evil person, even if destined to enjoy fortune, will turn their fortune into disaster through their misdeeds. Your fate for the past 20 years, as predicted by the Master, has bound you tightly, showing you are merely an ordinary person. So, are you an ordinary person after all?" Your father asked Master Van Kok if fate could be changed, to which the Master replied, "Fate is created by oneself. Fortune comes from one's own actions. If we commit evil, we naturally suffer. If we cultivate virtue, we naturally reap rewards." The ancient scriptures have always proven the accuracy of this principle. Buddhist scriptures say, "If you seek wealth, you will find it. If you seek children, you will have them. If you seek longevity, you will achieve it. By cultivating good deeds, fate cannot bind us." Saying otherwise is against the Buddha's teachings. Are you suggesting that the Buddha would deceive us? Still unclear, your father further questioned. Mencius once said, "If you wish for something, you will achieve it," meaning that what lies within our hearts is achievable. If it's not within our hearts, how can we be sure to achieve it? For example, virtues like benevolence and righteousness are within us. If we resolve to be virtuous, we naturally become so. This is what we can wholeheartedly strive for. But as for wealth and honors, these are external. Unless others grant them to us, how can we obtain them? Master Van Kok replied, "Mencius is not wrong, but your understanding is. Haven't you heard what the sixth patriarch Huineng said? All types of fortune are decided within our minds. Fortune doesn't leave the mind, and outside the mind there is no fortune to seek. Thus, whether we cultivate fortune or breed misfortune, it all originates from our minds. Just by seeking fortune from within, nothing is unattainable. If you understand this, you can seek not only inner virtues but also external wealth and honors. This is called achieving both internal and external goals. In other words, by cultivating the field of fortune, both righteousness and fortune are assured. A person destined for wealth and honors will have them without asking. If not destined, even asking won't help. Therefore, if we don't examine and correct ourselves but blindly seek external wealth and honors, we are not guaranteed to achieve them because they depend on the karma we have accumulated. This aligns with Mencius's words. To ask is to follow the principle. Whether you obtain it or not is determined by fate. Know that even if we ask and receive, it is still due to the karma we already possess, not merely because we asked for it. Thus, only ask for what is truly worthy, not indiscriminately without principle. If you lack the karma yet stubbornly seek it, not only will you not gain wealth and honors, but also, due to excessive greed and improper means, you will lose the virtues of benevolence and righteousness within your heart. Thus, asking without principle is futile. Master Van Gogh then asked, "How did the master predict your life's fate?" Your father recounted everything the master had predicted, when he would pass exams, when he would hold official positions, and at what age he would die. Master Van Gogh asked, "Do you think you can achieve official rank? Can you have a son?" Your father reflected on his past actions and after much thought answered, "I lack the fortune appearance, so I know my karma is limited. Moreover, I haven't accumulated enough virtue through good deeds to cultivate good fortune. Additionally, I lack patience and refuse to take on complicated, burdensome tasks. I'm also petty and speak recklessly, unable to forgive others' mistakes. Sometimes I am arrogant, flaunting my talents and intellect over others. These behaviors are signs of poor fortune. How can I achieve official rank? Cleanliness is a virtue, but excessive cleanliness can become a bothersome trait. Thus, the ancients said, 'Where there is much dung, plants flourish. Where water is too clean, fish cannot live.' My excessive cleanliness has made others avoid me. This is the first reason I don't have a son. All beings rely on the warm sunlight and the cool, nourishing rain to grow. My temper and resentfulness lack the cool, harmonious atmosphere necessary for the growth of a son. This is the second reason. Benevolence is the root of life. If one's heart is cruel and lacks compassion, it is like fruit without seeds, unable to sprout and grow into a tree. Therefore, the ancients said, 'Cruelty is the root of extinction.' I only care about preserving my own honor and refuse to sacrifice myself to fully perform righteous acts. This is the third reason I don't have a son. Talking too much can harm one's vitality. I talk excessively, so my body is not healthy. How can I have a son? This is the fourth reason. People live by essence, energy, and spirit. A person lacking in vitality, even if they have a son, will not have a long-lived offspring. This is the fifth reason. People should not sleep during the day or stay awake at night. I often sit up all night, refusing to sleep early, not knowing how to preserve my vital energy. This is the sixth reason. Besides these, there are many other faults I cannot fully explain. Master Van Gogh said, "With these faults you won't achieve official rank, and many other things will also be unattainable. Know that whether you are fortunate or not is created by your own heart. Those with wisdom know that it's all self-made, self-received. Those who don't understand blame it on fate. For example, in the world, there are wealthy people with thousands of taels of gold because they have the karma of thousands of taels of gold. Those with 100 taels of gold have that karma, and those who are poor and starving have the karma of starvation. For instance, a person who accumulates virtue will be rewarded by heaven accordingly. Those who commit evil will face corresponding disasters. Heaven here is me from a previous life. I today am the crystallization of my former self. Today, I am both the recipient of my past actions and at the same time the creator, heaven, of my future self. What people commonly refer to as fate is really just karma, self-created, not a power outside of oneself. I am the master of my karma. I am the one who creates my own fate, and only I can change it. According to Buddhism, past karma is the driving force of the current life. It commands everything. Thus, humans are like machines controlled by an invisible destiny, commonly called fate. The main driving force of creating karma is consciousness. Consciousness has an extremely powerful effect. It governs everything else, has the power to create and change a person's entire life. In the current phase of life, an individual must bear all the consequences of past and present karma. But consciousness, with the support of other mental functions in the current phase of life, also has the power to create new karma, to be the driving force for the emergence of life thereafter. Happiness or suffering is created by humans themselves. No one has the right to bestow fortune or disaster or to reward or punish anyone. Only the law of karma, the just operation of cause and effect, determines one's fate. Next, Master Van Kok used a secular perspective to advise your father to accumulate virtue and do good deeds. Having a son is like planting seeds. Good causes meet good effects. Bad causes meet bad effects. A person who accumulates virtue for 100 generations will have descendants for 100 generations who maintain their karma. A person who accumulates virtue for 10 generations will have descendants for 10 generations who maintain their karma. Accumulating virtue for 2 or 3 generations results in descendants for 2 or 3 generations who maintain their karma. But a person who only enjoys fortune for 1 generation will have no descendants after that, which shows that their accumulated virtue is only that much. However, the sins of that person are probably not few. Now that you are aware of your flaws, you must wholeheartedly change those negative traits and signs of poor fortune that prevent you from achieving official rank and having a son. You must absolutely do good deeds, be harmonious and compassionate towards others, tolerant and cherished, and preserve your spirit. Treat all past actions as if they died yesterday. Treat future actions as if they were born today. Live with a compassionate heart, loving all people and all beings, always living happily in the present. By doing this, you have created a new life for yourself. This is the life of righteousness and virtue. Our physical bodies still have a fixed vitality, but the life of righteousness and virtue is not bound by fate and can resonate with the laws of heaven. Thien Tai Gyap in the Classic of Documents said, "Heaven-sent disasters can be avoided. Self-caused disasters must be endured." The Classic of Documents also says, people should always consider whether their actions align with the way of heaven. If they do, fortune comes naturally without seeking. Thus, both fortune and disaster are up to oneself. The way of heaven, or the law of cause and effect, is referred to here. The Master predicted your life without official rank or descendants. Though it seems predestined, it can still be changed. You just need to expand your inherent benevolence and righteousness, strive to do good, and accumulate hidden virtues. This is you creating your own karma, which no one else can take away. How can you not enjoy its rewards? The I Ching also calculates for those who maintain a benevolent heart, hence guiding them away from dangers and harmful places and people. If fate could not be changed, how could one find auspicious places and avoid danger? The opening chapter of the I Ching says, "A family that practices goodness will have an abundance of karma to pass on to their descendants." Do you truly believe in this principle? Your father believed in Master Van Kok's words, bowed in gratitude, and followed his teachings. He also confessed all past mistakes and sins, regardless of their severity, in front of a Buddhist altar, sincerely repenting. He also composed a poem, first expressing his wish for official rank, and then vowing to perform 3,000 good deeds to repay the kindness of heaven, earth, and the efforts of his parents in raising him. Master Van Kok, hearing your father's vow to perform 3,000 good deeds, showed him a book recording sins and virtues. He instructed him to follow the advice therein. Whatever deeds he did, whether good or bad, he must record them daily in that book. Good deeds were to be recorded under virtue, and bad deeds under sin. But he had to consider whether a bad deed was major or minor, and could use the good deeds recorded to offset them. He also instructed him to chant the ZHUANGZI mantra, relying on the power of the Buddhas to help his wishes come true. Thus, fate is created by oneself. If explained in detail, whether rich or poor makes no difference. Both must follow this principle of creating their own destiny. When wealthy, one must not be arrogant or oppress others with money or power, but must be humble, sharing and helping others. This way, the destiny of wealth becomes even wealthier and can be preserved for a long time. When poor, one must still maintain integrity, not doing anything against conscience. Even if poor, one remains content and upright, which can transform a destitute fate into a wealthy one. Thus, whether rich or poor, one must forsake evil and cultivate good, planting the field of fortune. Short-lived or long-lived, the same principle applies. One should not think, I have a short life, so I must rush to enjoy, recklessly committing evil and indulging in depravity. Knowing that because of one's karma, one must have a short life, one should strive to do good, hoping that the next life will be long-lived. This way, this life may be extended, and those who are long-lived should not rely on this and recklessly commit evil, cheat, break the law, or indulge in sensuality. Knowing that long life is not easy to come by, one must cherish it, doing more good deeds to preserve this long-lived karma. Understanding this principle can change a short life into a long one. A long life becomes even longer and healthier. Humans live in this world, and the most important things are life and death. If one can see short life and long life as no different, then all situations, whether favorable or unfavorable, rich or poor, are encompassed within this. Mencius said the study of creating one's destiny only discusses short and long life, and does not talk about wealth or poverty, success or hardship because of this reason. Master Van Kok also said, Mencius has a phrase, cultivate oneself and wait there, meaning, one must always cultivate one's mind and virtues, not committing even the slightest evil. Whether fate can be changed depends on how much virtue one accumulates and whether it aligns with the way of heaven. When it comes to cultivating oneself, it means looking within to correct our mistakes and sins. Those who cultivate only think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds, always examine their own faults and do not discuss others' faults. And to wait means everyone must wait until their cultivation is deep and their karma sufficiently accumulated and corresponding sins eliminated, then fate will naturally change and become favorable. One should not harbor desires beyond one's station, allowing delusory thoughts to cloud the mind, but must keep the mind pure, letting go of all arising and ceasing delusions. The mind should be like a mirror, clearly seeing all but not being affected by external conditions, seeing forms but not clinging to them, existing in a state of thought without thinking, seeing all dharma without being attached. Reaching this level will rediscover the inherently pure and clear nature within each person, and just using this mind is enough to achieve Buddhahood. However, this requires practice to truly understand. Your father, originally known as Hoc Hai, changed his name to Lu Pham from that day on, because after understanding the principle of creating destiny, your father did not want to live as an ordinary person and vowed to sweep away all mundane understanding. Thus he was called Lu Pham. From then on, your father was always mindful and alert, careful in his words, actions, and thoughts. He felt as if he had completely changed, becoming a different person. Previously, your father lived carelessly, without restraint, not knowing how to control himself. Now, he has become careful, respectful, and cautious of anything inappropriate. Even at home, in the evenings when no one else was around, your father dared not act carelessly, knowing that heaven, earth, and the spirits were watching. When encountering people who were jealous or destructive, your father remained calm, not engaging or arguing with them. 2 years after visiting Master Van Kok, your father participated in the Ministry of Rights examination. Master Kong predicted your father would rank third, but unexpectedly, he ranked first. The master's predictions began to lose their effectiveness. Master Kong did not say your father would pass the scholar examination, but in the autumn scholar examination that year, your father passed. This was due to performing virtuous deeds, which changed his fate. Master Van Kok said, "Fate can be changed." This statement has now been proven, increasing your father's belief. Although your father corrected many mistakes when it came to necessary actions, he still could not focus wholeheartedly. Even when performing them, he was still reluctant, not quite natural. Your father re-examined himself and saw that he still had many faults. For example, although he was willing to do good deeds, he did not boldly strive to perform them. Or when it came time to save someone, he still hesitated, not resolutely carrying it out. Although he managed to do some good deeds, he still spoke wrong words. When sober, he could still control himself, but when drunk, he indulged excessively. Although your father accumulated some merit through his good deeds, his mistakes were still numerous. If he used his merit to offset his mistakes, it might not be enough. Time was just being wasted. From the year Kai Ti, after hearing the words of Master Van Kok, your father vowed to perform 3,000 good deeds, and by the year Kai Mao, more than 10 years later, he had just completed these 3,000 good deeds. At that time, your father, along with Master Li Tiem An, had just returned from Quan Nhai to Quan Noi, and had not yet had the chance to dedicate these 3,000 good deeds. In the year Kan Thin, your father returned to the south and requested 2 venerable senior monks, Tin Kong and Tue Kong, to borrow the Zen Hall Dong Top to complete this dedication of intent. At that time, your father also raised the intention to have a son and made a great vow to perform 3,000 major good deeds. In the year Kan Tai, a son was born, named Thien Kai. Your father recorded each good deed he performed. Your mother, who could not write, whenever she performed a good deed, such as giving food to the poor or releasing animals, would mark a red circle on the calendar with a goose feather pen, indicating that she had performed about 10 or so good deeds that day. Thus, by August of the year Kwai Mui, he had completed 3,000 good deeds exactly as vowed. Your father again invited venerable monks like Tin Kong to his home for a dedication ceremony. In September of that year, your father again raised the vow to pass the doctoral exam and vowed to perform 10,000 good deeds for dedication. In the year Bin Tuat, he passed the doctoral exam. The Ministry of Personnel appointed your father as the district head of Bao De District, which was then vacant. While your father was district head of Bao De, he prepared a book with blank squares called the Mind Governing Book. Saying it governed the mind meant fearing one's own mind might give rise to wrongful thoughts, using this means to counter them. Every day upon waking up in the early morning and during court sessions, your father would have this mind-governing book placed on his work desk. Every day, whether it was a good deed or a bad deed, however small, he would record it there. Your grandmother saw that your father was not performing many good deeds and frowned, saying, "I used to help you with good deeds at home, so the vow of 3,000 good deeds could be completed. Now you've vowed to perform 10,000 good deeds, but it's really difficult to carry out in the government office. Who knows when you'll be able to finish?" Then, one night, your father suddenly dreamt of an angel appearing. He discussed with the angel the difficulty of completing 10,000 good deeds. The angel said, "Just one act of reducing the land tax for the people as a district head is enough to count as 10,000 good deeds." It turned out that the land tax in Baoda district was 2 dong 3 mao 7 xu per acre. Seeing that the tax burden on the people was too heavy, your father applied to reduce the tax for all the land in the district to 1 dong 4 mao 6 xu per acre. Your father was surprised at how the angel knew about this. Moreover, he did not expect that this act could count as 10,000 good deeds. Just then, Zen Master Huyen Du from Engu Dai Mountain arrived in Baoda. Your father recounted the dream to the master and asked if he could believe it. Huyen Du replied, "Doing good deeds must come from a truly sincere and earnest heart, not superficially or with the intention of seeking reward. Thus, even one good deed can be equal to 10,000, especially since you reduce the tax for the entire district. All the farmers in the district benefited from this grace. Thousands of people were relieved of the heavy burden of taxes, which is truly a great blessing." Your father, hearing the master's words, took his own salary and asked the master to offer a vegetarian meal to 10,000 monks on Ngudai Mountain and requested a dedication. Master Kong had predicted your father would die at the age of 53. Although your father did not pray for longevity, when he turned 53, he was not the least bit ill. This year, your father is already 69 years old. The classic of documents says, "A person's fate is not fixed. It is all created by oneself." These words are not wrong at all. Thus, your father realized that all fortune and disaster are self-created. This is the word of the sage. However, saying that fortune and disaster are predetermined by heaven is the word of the ordinary man. What will become of Vien Thieng Kai, your son? However, even if he experiences wealth and honor, he must maintain a humble heart as if he were lost and impoverished. Even if he encounters good fortune, he must keep his heart as if he were in difficult and troubled times. Even if he has more than enough to eat and wear, he must be frugal as if he were in need. Even if he is loved and respected by others, he must always remain humble and cautious. No matter how prestigious his family background, he must see himself as inferior. No matter how profound his knowledge, he must see himself as coarse. This profound way of living is to look at problems from the opposite perspective. If he can be humble like this, his morality will gradually improve, and his karma will naturally grow. In the long term, he should continue and expand the virtues of his ancestors. In the near term, he must know how to respect his parents. Above, he should repay the kindness of heaven and earth. Below, he must create happiness for his family. Outside, he should help the poor, the sick, and the distressed. Inside, he must always guard against evil thoughts. The 6 approaches above are from the positive perspective to affirm the issue. If he regularly examines himself to find mistakes, he will certainly become a true gentleman. People need to examine their own faults daily to correct themselves each day. Otherwise, assuming they have no faults, unwilling to correct themselves, how can they progress? There are many talented and intelligent people in the world, but most do not devote effort to cultivating their morality or building a good destiny, just because they procrastinate and go with the flow without a desire for progress, thus ruining their entire lives. The teachings of Master von Koch on the principles of creating one's destiny are truly the most profound and true. I hope you read and think deeply about them and must wholeheartedly practice them, determined not to let precious days pass in vain.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
9. Similar in appearance, different in fate. There were twin brothers named Alex and Andy who looked exactly alike, from their hairstyles to their heights. It was hard to tell Alex from Andy. However, their personalities were complete opposites. Alex was cautious and naive, while Andy was outgoing and talkative. Alex struggled to communicate with strangers, whereas Andy was approachable and easily made friends. He never had trouble expressing his thoughts and ideas powerfully and persuasively. One day, the brothers took a college entrance exam. When the results came out, Alex was surprisingly admitted. Unfortunately, Andy missed passing by just 2 points. Disappointed that he couldn't attend college that year, Andy locked himself in his room for days, feeling life was unfair because he was more talented and articulate than his shy brother Alex. Later, Alex shared the exam results with their parents, announcing his college admission. However, the parents decided it was best for Andy to take Alex's place. Their father told Alex, "Andy has more potential in academic fields, and you two will switch roles so Andy can go to college." As a dutiful son who loved his brother, Alex obeyed his parents and gave his college acceptance letter to Andy. He told Andy, "Little brother, this isn't a ticket to heaven, so don't set your expectations too high." In response, Andy asked, "What do you mean?" Alex explained, "It's simply that we are paying for a service in a capitalist economy. In this case, the service is higher education." Hearing this, Andy shook his head and laughed. He firmly believed it was a golden ticket to success. After all, education is the key to success, right? Clearly, everyone recognizes this truth. Andy eagerly went off to college, and Alex stayed home to care for their parents. Later, Alex took a job at a local cement factory near their home. He was responsible for crushing stones, which would then be used to make cement. Surprisingly, Alex did very well in his job and even came up with ways to improve the stone-crushing machine. Recognizing Alex's abilities, the manager decided to promote him to the production line. There, Alex noticed many of his colleagues facing health issues due to the toxic and unsafe working environment. Many workers suffered from respiratory diseases caused by inhaling silica dust during production. Alex and some colleagues collaborated to improve the working environment for laborers. They proposed that management enforce strict safety regulations, such as wearing protective clothing and using necessary equipment when handling raw materials. Following this initiative, Alex was promoted to a higher position. This time, he was transferred to the research department, where he began professional training in the cement industry. He also traveled to other factories to hone his skills and update his knowledge on the field. Soon after, with all the knowledge he had gained, Alex returned to his factory and found ways to improve the quality of the cement produced there. Thanks to his good performance and innovative ideas, Alex quickly earned a reputation and a good standing in the factory and the construction industry as a whole. Meanwhile, Andy fell in love with a wealthy girl during his time in college. Instead of focusing on his studies, he spent time with his girlfriend and relied on her to cover his college expenses. Unfortunately, his girlfriend later left him for another man. Andy was devastated. He stopped attending classes and fell into negative emotions. Fortunately, Andy managed to barely pass his final exams and graduated. Despite graduating, Andy felt lost and hopeless about his life. He decided to quietly return to his hometown and look for a job. Not daring to face his family because of his shameful academic results, he was determined to find a job before reuniting with his parents and brother. Thanks to a referral from a previous internship in the city, Andy managed to get an interview at a well-known construction company. While nervously preparing for the interview, Andy unexpectedly received a job offer from the company. Andy was surprised and delighted. However, he was then informed that he would have to start working on the production line where he would be responsible for burning rocks. When he realized he would be working as a laborer, Andy felt it was unfair, as he had graduated from college and should not be starting with such a menial job. Andy requested to meet with the factory director to discuss the matter. To his surprise, the secretary quietly handed him a note. "This is from the factory director," the secretary said. The note read, "If you want to reach heaven, you must be able to descend into hell first. Nothing good comes easily." Andy was angry when he read the director's brief reply. He immediately wanted to argue with the director because the company had not arranged a job appropriate to his education level. To his shock, when he entered the director's office, he was speechless. Sitting in the director's chair was Alex, smiling at him. This story shows that although the twin brothers were born to the same parents and looked exactly alike, their fates were completely different. What could explain this difference? Ancient wisdom says, everyone has their own destiny. All successes and failures in life are preordained. Perhaps fate is something mysterious and elusive. The lesson here is, if we want to change our destiny, we must first change our mindset. The path of life is filled with joys and sorrows, and it's hoped that everyone can find peace of mind and establish the right attitude towards life. 10. A tree that may seem useless but lives life on its own terms. There was a tree in the state of Ki, with a large and wide canopy, dearly loved by the locals. A carpenter led some apprentices into the mountains to chop wood. He didn't even glance at the big tree, walking away and telling his followers, "This tree is crooked and tall, but useless for timber." That night the carpenter dreamt the tree said to him, "It's because I am twisted that I have not been cut down. I have grown as I wished, lived long, and provided shade for a whole area. How can you call me useless?" In the eyes of the carpenter, this tree might be useless, but to others, it holds unexpected benefits. If you feel isolated, it might mean you're not valued in a particular group, often disregarded or underestimated. Don't worry. It just means you haven't found the right group or people who share your aspirations yet. Leaving this group might lead you to a place where you can truly shine. If you're walking alone on the path of life, stay optimistic. See it as a way to freely live the life you desire. If you're a swan living among ducks, you might feel like the ugly duckling and get picked on. It takes courage to leave a place that hinders your growth, to move to a space of freedom, to truly live as a swan. Don't rush to despair. Just keep evolving, and you will shine. 11. Build your own empire. When ZHUANGZI was summoned by the king of Wei, the king remarked, "Why are you dressed in such ragged clothes? Is your life that hard?" ZHUANGZI replied, "I am poor but not miserable. Your Majesty, have you ever seen tall trees like the fir or the oak? These trees often have many monkeys climbing them, but there are also many bushes beneath them that rely on them for shelter from the wind and rain. If someone is ordinary, they can easily blend into various groups. If someone is strong and outstanding, they often stand alone without anyone beside them." When ZHUANGZI became recognized for his talents, both the kings of Wei and Chu offered him positions. As the prime minister of Wei, Huishi was worried ZHUANGZI would compete for power. However, ZHUANGZI rejected all of this, insisting on being true to himself. Later, ZHUANGZI taught, wrote books, and ultimately became a great master. Even the poet Li Bai admired ZHUANGZI's talents. In fact, when Li Bai was young, he was very sociable, seeking patronage everywhere in hopes of obtaining an official position. However, some of his poetry was looked down upon by the famous people of his time. Later, he was recommended and had the chance to share drinks with Emperor Xuanzong of Tang and Yang Guifei, during which he wrote many excellent poems. Yet, this favoritism made many envious. After being isolated, he left Chang'an to travel through mountains and rivers, writing numerous poems and becoming a renowned poet. When you are capable and strong, isolation is not a problem. If you are like the mystical phoenix tree, one day the phoenix will come to rest on you. Everything in this world has its trade-offs. When you endure loneliness and use it as a stepping stone for your own growth, you will eventually shine. 12. From a dry tree, carve out a vase. ZHUANGZI tells a story of a time when Confucius was trapped between the states of Chen and Kai, going without food for 7 days. During this time, he picked up dry branches and crafted musical instruments, singing songs from his homeland. Although the tunes were not set to any particular melody, the sound of tapping and singing clearly expressed his inner feelings. Dry, wilted trees are often considered useless, only fit for the fire. However, through the eyes of a skilled craftsman, even a dry tree or a piece of rotting wood can be transformed into a beautiful handmade item, just like the instruments in the hands of Confucius. Consider the wooden guitars, zithers, and erhus, as well as the wooden beams, doors, and windows. Aren't they all made of wood? When you feel isolated, there might be a painful period, but it's just part of the carving and shaping process. Every pain you endure allows you to be reborn and transformed. If everyone always indulges you, you might end up like a plant in a greenhouse. Rotting, smelly wood is often shunned, but it can become the nutrients for flowers to bloom and bear sweet fruits one day. The more isolated you are, the more you need to improve yourself. In other words, make the most of your strengths and develop them. Over time, you can become an expert in a particular field. In conclusion, how you respond to life when you're isolated will determine your future. If you're stubborn, you might become useless as you age. If you strive to do your best, you will be strong and have your own stage to shine. 13. Embracing solitude, the path to inner harmony and self-mastery. 1. Living with oneself is the foundation of life. The greatest enemy in life is oneself. If you can conquer yourself, you can conquer everything. Many resonate with this statement. But think about it. We've learned so much about how to live with others, but often forget the most basic thing: how to live with ourselves. That's why ZHUANGZI said, "Those who can live alone are truly noble." 2. The importance of harmony with oneself. We often talk about harmony between humans and nature or society, but the most crucial harmony is with oneself. Inside us, there are endless desires and conflicts. Why not look inward, where countless dreams and emotions constantly churn? 3. Navigating life's storms. Our thoughts are like a lone boat on stormy seas, swaying from side to side, never still. Only by learning to live with ourselves can we maintain inner peace and harmony. 4. The noble art of solitude. ZHUANGZI said, "The person who knows how to be alone is truly noble." This refers to being at peace and harmonious within oneself, a state of self-completion. 5. Contributing to society and valuing solitude. We should use our abilities to benefit society and also cherish our moments alone, keeping our life positive and harmonious, thus becoming truly noble. 6. Facing loneliness. In the deep silence of the night, we long for understanding and acceptance from others. Yet true companions are rare. ZHUANGZI's friend, Hui Shi, often debated with him and felt lonely after his passing. 7. The inevitability of solitude. No one can be by our side every moment for a lifetime. Most of life's interactions make us think companionship is normal, but solitude is the eternal state of human existence. 8. Embracing and perfecting ourselves. ZHUANGZI taught, if you cannot change something, learn to accept it peacefully. We all have flaws and disappointments, and these are part of life. Accepting these truths helps us understand life's deeper meanings. 9. Understanding and improving ourselves. Each person's potential is different. Success is about reaching your personal best. Perfecting oneself means understanding and maximizing one's abilities. 10. Living with time and loneliness. How you spend your time reflects your approach to life. Instead of worrying about others' opinions, focus on self-improvement and perfecting yourself. 11. Loneliness isn't to be feared. Loneliness can be beautiful. It's not like falling into a deep abyss or walking on thin ice. Being alone allows us to do what we love. 12. Finding security in solitude. Women often seek a sense of security from a partner. However, if accustomed to solitude, they can find a more practical sense of security on their own. 13. Persisting through solitude. Even though living alone can be challenging, we must persist until we find joy in this lifestyle. Only then can we truly appreciate life and live harmoniously with it. 14. Giving loneliness a chance. Even in a crowd, if you feel alone, give your solitude a chance. You might discover how wonderful it can be. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 14. Knowledge and strength will make selfish ghosts disappear. In response to the endless demands for personal gain and the need to control desires, some say that without strong willpower, it's impossible to overcome these urges. Others believe they see the dangers of desire, but find themselves unable to resist its temptations. In truth, wisdom is like a pearl that illuminates hidden evil spirits, and strong will is a sharp sword that eliminates them. Therefore, to control one's desires, one cannot lack either wisdom or will. During the Warring States period, there was a man from the state of Song named Tao Shang. Once, he was sent by the king of Song on a mission to the state of Qin and was appointed as a left escort, receiving several horse-drawn carriages as a gift. In Qin, he was warmly welcomed by the king of Qin, who awarded him hundreds more carriages. Upon his return to Song, he met with ZHUANGZI and boasted, "Back then, living in poverty at the end of the market street, I was frustrated and struggled through each day, pale and thin. That was my weakness. But this year, just by using my tongue to influence the owner of 10,000 carriages, I received hundreds of carriages as gifts. This is my strength." Hearing this, ZHUANGZI mocked him, saying, "I've heard that the king of Qin has an illness, inviting doctors to diagnose and reward based on treatment. Draining pus from sores earns 1 carriage. Licking hemorrhoids earns 5. It seems the dirtier the treatment, the more carriages one gets. Perhaps you've been licking the king's hemorrhoids, or why else would you receive so many carriages? Better go on your way." 15. ZHUANGZI teaches how to face difficulties. ZHUANGZI once shared a story as follows. A man walking along a road suddenly noticed his own shadow and footsteps and mistook them for a ghost. Terrified, he began to run. But the faster he ran, the more footsteps he made and the closer his shadow seemed to follow. Realizing this, he tried to run even faster until he collapsed and died from exhaustion. Often, what causes us pain is not the problem itself, but our internal conflicts. Like the man in the story, he was overly sensitive to the external world, and even a small disturbance could trigger a wave of internal emotions. Ultimately, due to his entanglements and worries, he completely overwhelmed himself. ZHUANGZI, a philosopher regarded as a Taoist, free-spirited, and creative with the dream of Chuang Tzu dreaming of the butterfly, has been remembered as a legendary figure in Xiao Yao Yu for thousands of years. ZHUANGZI's wisdom not only encompasses profound knowledge about dealing with the world, but also offers remedies to heal the soul. He tells us that we all live in our minds, and whether we are happy or not is decided by our minds. When your life is chaotic and painful, you might also read ZHUANGZI and practice the following 3 things to reconcile with yourself and resolve internal conflicts. First, do not complain about life's difficulties, but learn to change your mindset. In the chapter Da Sheng, ZHUANGZI tells the story of a man named Sun Hu who went to his teacher ZHUANGZI and complained, "In my village, everyone speaks well of me, and no one says I am not brave when I face adversity. Yet my farming doesn't yield good harvests, my poetry doesn't find the right era, and I am ostracized by the community. What have I done to deserve such bad luck?" ZHUANGZI replied, "Do you know how a wise person behaves? They forget themselves, have courage and gall, pay no attention to ears and eyes, step beyond the mundane world and know nothing else. The free and easy wanderer lives in the realm of non-action, thus acting without expecting any results, transforming all things without constraining them. Now you flaunt your knowledge to deceive the ignorant, correct yourself to highlight others' faults, and strut around as if you hold the sun and the moon in your hands. Your body is intact. You have all your senses in middle age. You are not deaf, blind, or crippled. Compared to many others, you are fortunate. Why still blame the heavens?" After hearing these words, Sun Hu left silently, disillusioned. Some say that complaining is the most energy-draining and futile action in life. Many people, like Sun Hu, like to find someone to complain to when they face difficulties, but everyone knows that not only is complaining useless, it also covers oneself with negative energy and continually drains one's own energy. The American poet, singer, memoirist, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou once said, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Don't complain." By complaining less, reflecting, and acting more, we can escape the mire of internal conflict and struggle. Another story tells of a man named Tang Zong during the Song dynasty, who failed the imperial examination. At that time, many who failed started complaining about this and that. Some blamed the harshness of the examiners, and others lamented their lack of luck. Tang Zong said nothing but quietly packed up and returned home. Before he left, his teacher Yu Duan Hu called him over and said regretfully, "What a pity. I didn't expect." Tang Zong shook his head and replied, "I failed because I did not meet the requirements. Don't worry, teacher. I will continue to work hard and retake the exam." And indeed, facing failure, Tang Zong did not complain but recognized his own shortcomings. After returning to his hometown, he focused on reading and studying diligently. Finally, in the second year, he participated in the exam again and passed with the 4th rank. In Huainanzi, it is written, "He who knows his fate does not blame the heavens. He who knows himself does not blame others." Instead of blaming others for failures and misfortunes in life, it is better to change oneself and one's mental attitude. Not complaining about life's difficulties requires a change in your thinking and attitude. Here are some suggestions to help you stop complaining and face difficulties more positively. 1. Focus on what you have instead of focusing on what you lack or the difficulties you are facing. Concentrate on the positive aspects of your life, which helps you reassess and appreciate what you have. 2. Set clear goals and make plans to achieve them. Having goals helps you focus on improving your life rather than just focusing on difficulties. 3. Learn to adapt. Life is always changing and brings new challenges. Learning to adapt is key to becoming stronger from difficult situations. 4. Practice gratitude and give thanks often. Recall positive things and be grateful for the experiences you and those around you have. This helps you view life more optimistically. 5. Take care of your mind and body. Spend time on self-care like exercising, meditating, reading, or engaging in activities you love to reduce stress and improve your mood. 6. View difficulties as learning opportunities. Every difficulty comes with a lesson. Instead of complaining, try to learn what you can from the situation and how you can grow from it. 7. Change your perspective. Try to see things from a more positive angle. This can help you realize there are many ways to solve problems and overcome difficulties. 8. Create a positive environment. Build a surrounding environment with positive and supportive people. These people can help you maintain an optimistic spirit and control complaints. 9. Focus on what you can control. Concentrate on things you can control rather than wasting time worrying about things you cannot change. 10. Regularly reevaluate yourself. Periodically ask about your attitude and how you deal with difficulties. This will help you track your progress and make necessary adjustments when things go off course or if there are mistakes. Everything starts with creating a positive attitude and changing how you view life. Sometimes changing your attitude can be difficult, but with time and willpower, you can develop a positive outlook and stop complaining about life's difficulties. 16. The wisdom of embracing challenges. Lessons from Confucius on hard work and humility. In the philosophy of Confucius, each teaching is not only a transfer of knowledge but also a guiding light for the soul, leading people towards self-improvement. One such teaching states, "Do not expect work to be easy. Easy successes often lead to arrogance." This phrase carries deep and layered meanings. The first part, "Do not expect work to be easy," advises that in all tasks, we should not expect everything to go smoothly without obstacles. This advice stems from an understanding of life and work. All achievements require effort, perseverance, and sometimes overcoming difficulties. Expecting work to be easy can lessen our preparedness and effort, leading to disappointment when real challenges arise. The second part, "Easy successes often lead to arrogance," warns about the psychological consequences of achieving success too easily. When a task does not require much effort yet is successful, people tend to become complacent and arrogant. This mindset not only hinders personal development, but also reduces the ability to face and solve new challenges. Arrogance can cause a loss of humility, an important quality for learning and progress. On a broader scale, this teaching emphasizes the importance of facing difficulties and challenges in any endeavor. Patience, perseverance, and a humble attitude towards all successes are crucial factors for sustainable personal and community development. 17. Don't worry if you don't hold a position of power. Worry instead if you don't have the skills to earn one. The first part, "Don't worry if you don't hold a position of power," emphasizes the attitude towards social status and positions. It reminds us that being overly concerned or worried about not holding a certain title is unnecessary. This not only creates unreasonable pressure but also diminishes our spirit of freedom, creativity, and the ability to grow as we seek knowledge and improve our character. The second part, "Worry instead if you don't have the skills to earn one," shifts the focus from achieving a position to enhancing one's own abilities. The deeper meaning here is that focusing on developing skills, knowledge, and character is much more important than pursuing fame and status. This not only helps individuals gain confidence and self-respect in their work and life, but also creates lasting values that surpass the limits of positions and titles. Through this, Confucius wants to convey the message that the most important thing is not which position you hold in society, but whether you are continuously improving yourself, enhancing your talents and virtues to deserve higher positions. This approach not only helps each person make positive changes within themselves, but also contributes to the overall development of society. 18. The importance of recognizing and correcting our faults. Lessons from Confucius. Confucius once taught that to know your faults and not correct them is itself a fault. This saying reflects one of the most fundamental and essential teachings of Eastern philosophy and ethics. Recognizing and correcting our mistakes is crucial in the journey of personal development. The first part, to know your faults, highlights the importance of identifying our own mistakes and shortcomings in our actions or thinking. This awareness is the first step and a prerequisite for any improvement and growth. It requires self-awareness, self-examination, and humility to see ourselves honestly and comprehensively. The second part, and not correct them, is itself a fault, emphasizes the consequences of being indifferent and not actively fixing the mistakes we've identified. Here, Confucius doesn't just talk about recognizing faults, he stresses the need for action to rectify them. This shows that personal development isn't just about awareness. It also demands initiative and determination to make necessary changes. Through this teaching, Confucius wants to convey the message of continuous striving to improve our moral and ethical character. Recognizing and correcting mistakes is not only a sign of maturity and self-improvement, but also an expression of responsibility towards oneself and the community. Persisting in correcting our faults lays the foundation for building a strong character, a peaceful society, and a progressive community.
If you like this video, please comment 1, and if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
19. The virtue of selflessness. Lessons from Confucius on altruism and integrity. Please don't expect a reward when you do a good deed. Expecting one indicates ulterior motives. This teaching reflects one of the core ethical beliefs imparted by Confucius, which is the spirit of selflessness and benevolence without seeking personal gain. This statement is not only a moral principle, but also a reminder of how to live and interact with others in society. When Confucius said, "Please don't expect a reward," he emphasized that helping others should not come from a desire for personal gain or reciprocity. This is an expression of pure compassion and kindness, virtues that everyone should aspire to. Doing good without expecting anything in return shows that the act comes from a genuine and kind heart, untainted by any selfish intentions. In the phrase, "expecting a reward" indicates ulterior motives. Confucius warns about having a calculating mentality in social relationships and helping others. When good deeds are done with the hope of gaining something in return, their purity is compromised and can be seen as a form of selfishness or scheming. This not only diminishes the true value of helping others, but can also negatively affect relationships, weakening trust and human connections. Through this teaching, Confucius advises that everyone should cultivate a spirit of altruism, perform good deeds without expecting anything in return, and see this as a natural part of life and a path to moral development. This approach not only helps build a caring and warm society, but also allows individuals to improve themselves and lead meaningful and valuable lives. 20. Lighting the way, embracing solutions over complaints with Confucian wisdom. Find a small candle and light it up rather than sitting there cursing the darkness. This philosophy from Confucius contains deep wisdom, always guiding us towards seeking practical and positive solutions to life's challenges. The saying, "Find a small candle and light it up, don't sit there cursing the darkness," reflects a profound view on how we should face and overcome obstacles, not just in personal life, but in all aspects of society and work. The first part, find a small candle and light it up, symbolizes the search for and application of positive solutions to problems. Instead of accepting the status quo or being passive in the face of difficulties, we are encouraged to actively seek even the smallest way out to illuminate and dispel darkness. This emphasizes the importance of taking action and maintaining a positive mindset, encouraging creativity and persistence in solving problems. The second part, don't sit there cursing the darkness, criticizes a negative, helpless attitude towards challenges and difficulties. Through this saying, Confucius wants to stress that complaining, criticizing, or blaming cannot solve problems, but only serves to worsen our mood and drain the energy needed to find solutions. Instead, we should focus on whatever small, actionable steps we can take to improve the situation. Through this advice, Confucius conveys the message about the importance of maintaining a positive and proactive attitude in life. Every small action can lead to significant changes, helping us overcome the darkness of disappointment and challenges. This lesson about the power of hope and action encourages each of us not only to seek light for ourselves, but also to light the way for others, contributing to a better and more just society. 21. Embracing challenges. Confucius on building resilience and determination in your career. Don't expect a career path to be smooth and easy because without obstacles, determination isn't strengthened. Here, Confucius is not only encouraging people to face and overcome difficulties, but he's also emphasizing that these challenges are essential for developing willpower and resilience. The first part, don't expect a career path to be smooth and easy, begins by dismissing the idea of an unobstructed career path. Confucius is not predicting unavoidable difficulties, but rather stressing the importance of accepting and preparing to face them. He wants to show that encountering challenges in any career is inevitable and an opportunity for learning and growth. The second part, because without obstacles, determination isn't strengthened, explains why challenges shouldn't be avoided. Without experiencing hardships, people can't understand the value of patience, courage, and the drive to succeed. Obstacles are not just barriers, but also means to train and prove one's mettle. Resilience isn't a natural trait, but the result of the process of facing and overcoming difficulties. Through this advice, Confucius conveys the message that in the pursuit of careers and dreams, people should not seek ease or avoid challenges. Instead, we should view each difficulty as a chance to learn, grow, and become stronger. Resilience and the will to overcome difficulties are not only crucial for achieving career success, but also for becoming the best version of ourselves, leading a meaningful and valuable life. 22. To understand whether someone is good or bad, just observe these things. These methods of assessing people have been distilled by many wise figures. By learning them, you can better understand someone, knowing who to befriend and who to avoid. With talented individuals, first consider the person before the skill. Choose people based more on attitude than on skill level. Skills can be learned and improved over time, whereas attitude is mostly fixed and harder to change due to external influences. Confucius's 9 methods to determine a person's character. 1. In difficulties, observe their loyalty from a distance. 2. Stir up a situation and watch their reactions. 3. Increase their workload and observe their capabilities. 4. From their mistakes, assess their knowledge. 5. See their demeanor when they are angry. 6. Entrust them with money and observe their generosity. 7. Put them in danger and watch how they handle it. 8. When they are drunk, observe their behavior. 9. Have them work for you and watch carefully. Confucius's 3 steps to assess people. 1. Look at how the person socializes. Their social standing can indicate their level of thoughtfulness. 2. Observe what they pursue and how they aim to achieve their goals. 3. Consider their inner psychological tendencies, whether they are relaxed or fearful. Zhuge Liang's 7 methods to assess people. 1. Create divisions to test their principles. 2. Engage in debate to see their adaptability. 3. Ask their opinions on strategies to assess their knowledge. 4. Tell them about hardships and observe their courage. 5. Watch them when they are drunk to see their true nature. 6. Use incentives to test their integrity. 7. Assign them tasks to evaluate their reliability. 5 ways a politician from the Warring States period, Li Kui, assessed people. 1. Observe their close associates to see how they choose friends. 2. When they are wealthy, watch how they manage and distribute their wealth. 3. When successful, see whom they promote. 4. In adversity, observe how they behave. 5. In poverty, see what they refuse to do, whether they can maintain integrity. 4 basic skills to assess people. 1. To understand someone, look at their friends. 2. To see a person's kindness, observe how they treat the poor and less fortunate. 3. To understand someone's mind, watch how they treat people they dislike. 4. To gauge someone's capabilities, observe how they solve problems and how much practical and useful work they do. 2 tips to gauge a person's character. 1. Those too rigid often fail. Those too soft seldom achieve greatness. True strength is being firm on the outside but flexible on the inside. 2. When you consistently behave with dignity, others will respect you. If you live frivolously, others will scorn you. 4 ways to observe people. 1. Look at their approach to wealth and whether they crave a luxurious life. Those who are not overly concerned with gains and losses are usually not greedy. 2. Observe them during crises to see if they remain calm. Those with resolve do not fear. 3. Watch how they act when you ignore them. Responsible individuals won't be lazy and will keep working without needing reminders. 4. Observe them after they have been drinking to see if they can control themselves. Those with self-discipline will not act recklessly. 23. Character and communication. Keys to understanding and respect in daily life. People's character plays a crucial role in daily life, as we interact and work with many different people every day. Sometimes, understanding someone's true nature can be challenging. Some people reveal their true selves after a few encounters, while others remain mysterious even after years of closeness. They may have secrets or private aspects that make them hard to fully understand. Therefore, when meeting strangers, approach it like exploring a new land. Take your time, observe, and listen to what they say and how they behave. Let's consider these points. First, by their speech. Those who speak slowly, logically, and clearly often understand life deeply. As the saying goes, deep waters run still, and a wise person remains calm and composed amid life's constant changes, enabling them to handle situations more easily. Hence, they are careful with their words, fearing that harsh words might hurt others. In a story, a father and his son were walking in the woods. During a moment of silence, the father asked his son if he heard anything besides the birds singing. The son replied that he also heard a carriage. The father explained that the carriage was empty because empty carriages make more noise. As the son grew up, he remembered his father's words whenever he encountered someone using flashy, arrogant language to demean others. Moreover, A wise person speaks concisely and to the point. As the old saying goes, silence is golden, and when a wise person speaks, they speak pertinently. In life, many people often speak to please others with insincere, valueless words. Such words not only fail to bring anything good, but can also create negative karma. Therefore, it's better to speak meaningfully and appropriately. Then observe their physical expressions. For example, the way a person eats can reveal their personality. According to physiognomy, those who eat neatly and calmly are considered to have a fortunate demeanor, reflecting a serene life without pettiness. Conversely, those who eat hastily or messily might have a greedy or hurried nature. Lastly, consider their behavior. For instance, those who frequently get angry tend to appear less attractive, whereas those who are patient and calm usually have a pleasant demeanor. The way someone treats others, whether with kindness or deceit, also reveals much about their inner qualities. Dear friends, a person's integrity and moral values are like a business card in life, representing the best passport in any social interaction. A person with poor character, no matter how capable, will find it hard to attract genuine relationships or trust. In both business and personal life, only those with good character can truly unite hearts and minds and earn others' respect. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 24. 7 types of bad people disguised as good. In the world, there are many imposters, people who appear to have virtues which, in reality, are significant flaws. It's crucial not to be deceived by these appearances, but to see the true nature of people to identify and utilize genuinely good and talented individuals. This is especially important for office workers who need to protect themselves from office politics. 1. The charmer, who is not honest. This person is quick-witted and excellent at speaking, often impressing others with their apparent knowledge and eloquence. However, their arguments are superficial, only capable of misleading those with less knowledge. 2. The pretend scholar. Some people have a bit of talent and knowledge across various topics, resembling a scholar, but if their knowledge is broad yet shallow, they cannot truly deceive others. These individuals often read widely in their youth but lack deep understanding or proper guidance, which stunts their intellectual growth. 3. The pretender. There are those who know little but pretend to understand much, particularly after reaching adulthood, often out of vanity or fear of being laughed at. This is especially dangerous in business or technical fields, where their pretense can cause significant damage. 4. The clever opportunist. These individuals have a certain life experience and know how to maintain a clear-headed image. They usually speak after others, reiterating and sometimes subtly shifting previous opinions. Managing such a person is an art, making others believe they are insightful rather than manipulative. 5. The reality dodger. This person may have some minor skills but not enough to face real challenges directly. When confronted with immediate problems, they find clever ways to avoid dealing with them. They can manage as a deputy but could cause irreparable damage if not careful. 6. The imitator. These people lack original ideas but are good at absorbing and claiming others' insights as their own. To the undiscerning, they appear skilled and knowledgeable. Essentially, they are intellectual thieves, facing no legal consequences, which emboldens their behavior. 7. The stubborn one. This person refuses to be outdone by others, regardless of whether their stance is reasonable or not. A relatively good approach with them is to show respect and avoid arguments. If important issues are involved, convincing them with solid arguments is necessary. They might be intelligent and clear-headed but often act foolishly and argue to the extreme. For the overly selfish and delusional, reasoning is needed to persuade them. In the case of the obstinate, force might be necessary to compel compliance. 25. The father with the unattractive appearance and the bitter end. He was considered the ugliest man in the village. This man was tiny and frail, looking like a teenager at the age of 15 or 16. His eyebrows were furrowed, his chin always stuck out like a plow blade, and he had a few sparse red hairs like corn silk. His teeth were yellowed from smoking and crowded in his small mouth. Every time he laughed, it seemed like his teeth were about to jump out. His skin was rough and uneven, much like a wasp's nest. He often scared the neighborhood children with his unattractive appearance. However, life was fair in its own way. Though he was given an unfortunate physique, he was gifted with a sweet, persuasive tongue. Whenever he was near girls, sweet words flowed from his mouth like a fresh morning spring. It was said his words were sweet enough to kill flies, and indeed, a beautiful woman known throughout the village fell for his charming words. She was the complete opposite of him, beautiful with clear, sparkling eyes that always seemed to smile. Her round hips and full chest strained against her tight clothes, and her cheeks blushed pink in the sun, making many men long to bring her home. Yet she fell in love with him, a man so ugly that demons would be ashamed who worked for her family. It was as if she was under a spell, blinded and deafened by his sweet words. Her parents were shocked when they learned that their only well-mannered daughter loved this unattractive hired hand. Despite their gentle persuasion and threats, she refused to leave him. In a fit of anger, her father once slapped her hard, exclaiming, "How can you be so foolish, girl? With all the handsome, strong men in the village, you choose the stinkiest of the streets, a man who is barely a man at all." Yet, she continued to plead through her tears, "But I love him. Please don't stop me." Eventually, her parents had to accept the situation. They prepared a simple wedding meal for relatives, swallowing their pride because she was their only child. The mother quietly became his wife amid the scorn of neighbors and friends. He naturally became a son-in-law in the house. Occasionally, as the couple delivered goods, the mother still saw the pitying shakes of heads and heard the tisk-tasks. Truly a phoenix fallen into a crow's nest. Their textile workshop flourished thanks to his eloquence, making business smoother with money flowing in and workers bustling about. She was born into this love. Her grandparents often joked, "The crow has laid a phoenix's egg." Then, when she was expecting their second child, everyone looked forward to it. Life would have continued peacefully had tragedy not struck. While picking wild vegetables, she slipped and fell down a ravine. Everyone worked together to carry her to the hospital. The doctors tried hard but could only save her. The baby, only 6 months developed, was lost forever. Waking in the hospital and feeling her now flat belly sent her into panic and screaming. The fall had injured her severely, leaving her unable to have more children. The shock weakened her day by day. Her parents sought remedies everywhere, but nothing worked. From that day, the father's sweet words became less frequent, his smiles rare. His lips were always pursed tightly. His trips became longer and more frequent, spending time with the female workers, reigniting his flirtatious nature. The unwanted touches, the ambiguous words, half joking, half serious, made the women blush. Trouble began at home. The mother no longer trusted him as before. Wherever he went, she followed like a shadow. Yet, he still managed to have affairs with a few of the maids. Arguments between them became more frequent. Initially cautious, he later openly yelled at her, "You're a useless woman, unable to bear another child, always crying. I'm sick of seeing your gloomy face every day." She cried, The child cried. The grandparents cried, powerless before their unfaithful son-in-law. The grandparents could only blame their daughter for her blind love and pity their poor granddaughter. The grandmother, weakened by age and sadness, quietly left them one cold winter day to join the ancestors. The grandfather also deteriorated. In his final days with the father away, the mother wept beside him. "Father, I was wrong." The grandfather gently stroked her hair and her tear-streaked face. "If life is too hard, let it go and start anew, my child." He tried to say more but was too weak and eventually passed away, his eyes still open, perhaps uneasy about his only daughter and his young granddaughter. After his funeral, the father became more domineering, treating the mother and child worse. One afternoon, he brought home a young girl named Lone, claiming, "She's my cousin from the countryside, here to learn the trade." The mother was unsuspecting since Lone was just a bit older than her daughter, but whenever the father went on deliveries, the girl insisted on going along. One day, the mother returned early to find them together in her bed. The ground seemed to fall away beneath her. She lunged at Lone, screaming and scratching. The father coldly pushed her to the ground, shouting, "Be quiet. If you can't bear children anymore, accept that I'll take another wife who can. You're worthless." The mother collapsed in disbelief next to the father and the triumphant young woman. The house became even more chaotic. The ongoing battle between the two women seemed endless. Voices raised in argument, cries of despair from the mother, the father's harsh scolding, the mocking tone and ever-arrogant face of the young wife drilled into the child's head. Many times the child wanted to escape. She stuffed her ears with cotton to block out the painful sounds. Unable to bear it, she told her mother to let go. Why mourn such a faithless man? But the mother couldn't let go of the man she had defied her parents to marry. As always, the fight between the two women erupted again. The words grew harsher. The two women, like bloodthirsty tigers, pounced on each other, pulling hair, grabbing arms, scratching faces, tearing clothes until they were in shreds. The child sat quietly by the door, not intervening or shedding a tear. She had decided to leave the house filled with endless arguments. All she needed was one step. A fabric rope dangled tantalizingly in front of her. Below, the two women continued to brawl. The cursing and tearing of clothes blended into a chaotic noise. The rope still sparkled before her eyes. She took another step, reached for the limp white rope, and gently let herself fall. She struggled to breathe, tried to wriggle free, then felt herself floating up to the soft white clouds. The shouting and cursing faded away. She slowly opened her eyes. In front of her were 4 stark white walls. At the foot of the bed, her mother lay with a tired head. Oh, just one night, and her mother looked so worn and sad. Her hair was disheveled, streaked with gray, dark circles under her eyes. A turmoil of pity stirred in her heart. Her mother startled, "Calm down. Are you awake?" Her mother's thin, pale hand trembled as she clutched the child's soft hand, as if fearing that letting go would make her daughter disappear into thin air. "It's lucky you're okay. While there's life, there's hope, my daughter." The child pressed her mother's thin blue hand to her face and whispered, "Mom, let's leave this place." It was still dark when they stepped out of the familiar house that had been their home throughout her childhood but had left too many painful memories. The two shadows stood silently next to 2 lonely graves on the hillside. A gentle breeze seemed to whisper a conversation with the mother and daughter. Tears slowly streamed down the mother's gaunt, weathered face. She knelt and whispered, "I'm sorry, parents. Please forgive me. In the heavens above, if you are divine, please bless me and my daughter on this hard path." The mother took her daughter's hand in hers and decisively walked toward the main road ahead. The sun began to rise. Before long, the mother and daughter had bonded with the warm southern land, bathed in sunlight all year round. It had been more than 5 years now. The girl was now an 18-year-old, pretty and lovable. The garden around their small house was always lively with the chirping of birds on the branches. The new land had no winter and no foggy mountain days. The mother returned to her old craft, opening a small weaving workshop. Thanks to her skill and kindness, more and more customers sought their products. The warm southern land and their new, kind, and open-hearted friends soothed the rough wounds in their hearts, helping them gradually forget the pain. Life flowed peacefully, but perhaps what haunted the girl most were the golden afternoons. After finishing all the work, her mother would sit by the window looking toward the distant horizon. The girl knew in her mother's heart the pain had never fully healed. In her mother's small heart lay both love and the deep pain and resentment toward her father, a faithless, heartless man. Many times the girl told her mother, "I'm grown up now, and when I go away to study and work, you should find someone to keep you company." In those moments, her mother remained silent, not answering. Love was like that. Despite all the pain and resentment, her mother still clung to her first love with her father, unable to see any other man. One afternoon, her mother received a shipment of fabric from the north. The woman who stepped off the truck stunned her. The two women hugged each other, choked with tears. It turned out to be her mother's distant cousin. "Where have you and your mother disappeared to these past few years? People in the village thought you'd foolishly gone somewhere." The brilliant golden sunlight cast long shadows of the two women. The wind shifted, rustling the tree leaves. Her mother sat silently listening to her cousin recount the story of her father. After the mother and daughter left, that was when the father's other wife turned against him. She deceived him into gathering all valuable assets for herself. He could have died without ever imagining that he had been tricked by a child. When all the assets were in the other wife's hands, that was also when the father discovered a terrible secret. The son he had dearly loved for years was actually another man's child. The mental shock was too great, making the father bedridden. When he went to the hospital for a checkup, he discovered he had terminal lung cancer, a result of his smoking years. The shock left him unable to recover, his body wasting away. The stepmother took the son and the father's assets and disappeared with the man she loved, leaving the father to languish in a damp house. Days after the meeting, the cousin saw the mother sitting quietly on the doorstep, looking toward the distant horizon. One day, the mother called the girl into the room and gently said, "No matter what, he's still your father. Let's go visit him one last time, my child." The girl was stunned and objected, but she couldn't change her mother's decision. One warm spring morning, the mother and daughter returned to the house that had once held so many painful memories. It was hard to recognize it as the once famous weaving workshop. The house was dark and damp, nestled among overgrown vegetation. Dry leaves piled thickly on the small yard, and wild grass invaded the edges. Only the old grapefruit tree the grandmother had planted still quietly emitted a gentle fragrance. The father lay on a small bed, his body thin as a dried-up frog surrounded by a musty smell. His expression was tangled in the smelly old blanket. When he saw the mother and daughter suddenly appear, the mother quietly cared for him without a word of complaint or reproach. The father accepted her care with remorse and regret. When he realized the person who had always valued him, it was already too late. The father passed away in early summer. The funeral was quiet, without the wails of deep mourning. The mother bowed her head, conversing with the father one last time before adding a few handfuls of dirt to his grave. Her eyes no longer held sadness or resentment. The girl knew her mother had forgiven all his mistakes, allowing him to rest peacefully in the afterlife. The mother and daughter left the village cemetery as the brilliant sun began to cast warm rays on the plants and trees. The mother took her daughter's hand as they walked toward the sunrise. There, in the new place, were kind, hard-working neighbors always ready to lend a hand to the mother and daughter. There was a house always warm with the laughter of friends.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
26. Buddha's wisdom on observing human nature and self-reflection. Buddha taught us how to understand people. Distinguishing between good and bad people is never easy. It requires lots of experience. Over time, through life's challenges, our observations become more refined. However, dishonest individuals also get better at hiding their true intentions. Still, by observing carefully, we can detect the signs of genuine versus deceitful people through their external demeanor, as the appearance reflects the heart. No matter how skilled someone is at hiding, they can't always control their behavior to wear a mask at all times. Buddha Siddhartha Gautama taught his disciples to read people's behavior. According to Buddha, there are 5 indicators to identify a deceitful person: not smiling when it's appropriate, not feeling joyful when it's appropriate, not feeling compassion when it's appropriate, not feeling ashamed when doing wrong and ignoring good advice. Such a person belongs to the deceitful group. What about the signs of a righteous person? Buddha taught that they too have 5 distinguishing features: smiling when it's appropriate, feeling joyful when it's appropriate, feeling compassion when it's appropriate, feeling ashamed when doing wrong, and paying attention to good advice. This indicates that a person is virtuous and remains in that state. Monks, therefore, should learn this lesson. Thus, according to Buddha, whether someone is good or bad is judged not just by their outward appearance but by their inner self. The 5 criteria he set for his disciples to observe others are also meant for self-reflection. We all have our flaws and virtues. Observing ourselves is the way to timely recognize and adjust our wrongful thoughts or actions. In life, the line between right and wrong is often very thin, and our hearts are always changing, making it easy to cross the line without realizing it. Some may stray from the right path without being aware of it, still thinking highly of themselves while continuing to wander further into wrongfulness. Therefore, reflecting on ourselves through the mirror Buddha has given us is a good way to correct our wrongs, forsake evil for good, and improve ourselves. 27. You can tell good from bad by how they speak. Speech reflects the heart. Whether a person is good or bad, it shows in their words and is clearly reflected in their speech, actions, and gestures. Here are some ways to differentiate good people from bad ones through the way they speak. First, always remember, speech reflects the heart. Buddhism teaches that speech is the clearest expression of a person's virtue. One must maintain virtue in speech to preserve their good karma. In reality, no husband wants to come home to a wife who constantly criticizes and complains. No child would be happy if their parents never spoke kindly but only yelled and scolded. No friend would enjoy interacting with someone who speaks harshly and with malicious intent. A person with good fortune is someone who speaks considerately. Their words demonstrate good moral character. They do not use harsh words to criticize or belittle others, do not ramble from one topic to another, and do not boast about their own deeds after helping someone. Their words are always sincere, with the intent to encourage and motivate others. Second, deep waters flow slowly. Noble people speak calmly. Rash comments often emerge when you are tired, overworked, stressed, or disappointed. To overcome this, whenever you doubt whether what you're about to say is appropriate, ask yourself, will my comment help strengthen the connection with this person, or will it only drive us apart? This simple question can give you a moment to reflect before you speak. Third, speaking is an ability, but knowing what not to say is wisdom. 1. Do not complain when faced with problems. Life is short. If something goes wrong, try to solve it. We don't have enough time to complain. In the vastness of the universe, we are but a speck of dust. Who will listen to your complaints? People should strive each day instead of complaining. Only through personal effort and perseverance can you see the dawn of a new day. Remember Buddha's teaching. Don't speak of these things as they ultimately bring no benefit. 2. Do not speak words of discouragement. Some people normally speak discouraging words that demotivate others. In life, encouragement from others is crucial. If no one else motivates you, you must encourage yourself. Speaking words of despair will only lead to deeper despair. 3. Do not speak in anger. When people are angry, they often lose control and say things that can hurt others or themselves. When offended, it is essential to remain calm and not speak recklessly. Angry words are often harsh, so it's best not to utter them. 4. Do not speak arrogantly or boastfully. In life, those who are self-satisfied and arrogant, thinking themselves talented, often fail due to jealousy and envy from others. Success is also hard to achieve. What you show to others are your words and actions. It's crucial to avoid speaking arrogantly, as it attracts attention and breeds resentment. Remember Buddha's warning: disasters can strike at any time. 5. Do not speak words of resentment. When dissatisfied, people often express dissatisfaction and resentment towards bosses, friends, or even family members. If you frequently speak resentfully, others might use it against you, causing discord and forcing you to constantly deal with others, ultimately leading to your own suffering. 6. Do not speak ill of others behind their backs. I vow not to speak of others' faults is one of the Bodhisattva's vows. Everyone has their own story. If you do not fully understand someone, it's best not to judge. Similarly, don't worry too much if others speak poorly of you. 7. Do not speak of private matters. Everyone has their private matters, which they naturally do not want others to know. Likewise, you should not discuss others' private issues openly. Even if you reveal someone else's secrets without their objection, it exposes your bad character, and you may not receive blessings in the future. 8. Do not lie. Buddhism teaches about the 5 precepts, one of which is a prohibition against lying. Lying means to see and say you did not see, or to fabricate stories about seeing. Therefore, the ancients often reminded us to keep our speech virtuous, not to speak harshly or hurt others. Speaking kindly and keeping good thoughts benefits not only others but also oneself. 28. 7 lessons I teach myself to be a better person. Life is complicated, and it's filled with both good and bad things, reasonable and unreasonable events. What's important is that we strive to live well and kindly. Recently, the media has reported on some negative behaviors of Vietnamese people abroad, such as stealing, escaping during tours, being indifferent to accidents, and deceitful trading. Most people who read these reports are outraged, feeling these individuals bring shame and dishonor to the Vietnamese community. There are also those who strive to uplift Vietnamese culture and image through educational reforms and stricter laws. However, few think about changing themselves first. Society is a collective of individuals, and to change society, we must start with ourselves. I acknowledge that I'm not perfect, which is why I continuously strive to improve myself, understand, and avoid bad habits to live better. 1. Respect others. I believe respecting those around me is respecting myself. Whether it's a scholar, an engineer, a farmer, or a beggar, I always remind myself to be polite. Just because someone is in a less fortunate position doesn't give me the right to look down on them. 2. Walk softly, speak softly. The habit of being loud is common among Vietnamese, and I'm no exception. Whether at airports, hospitals, or just at the office, loud conversations can be annoying. Understanding this, I try to keep my voice down. 3. Queue patiently. It will be your turn. Sometimes queuing might seem foolish, especially if you've been waiting for a long time due to others cutting in line. But orderly queues can make a place more organized if everyone waits their turn. 4. Don't run red lights or drive on sidewalks during traffic jams. Even when there are no police around, whether early morning or late night, I wait for the green light. Patience during a 30-second red light is a small thing but important. 5. Don't litter. Many people throw trash anywhere, which is why our streets are often dusty and littered. I hold on to my garbage until I find a bin, even if it takes a few extra minutes. 6. Set a good example for children. I believe that to have well-behaved children, parents must set a good example. My spouse and I try to embody this principle in all we do. 7. Help others whenever possible. Once I helped someone hit by a car and was nearly wrongly accused of causing the accident. Some might say it's foolish and suggest ignoring such situations in the future, but I would still help. A clear conscience is more important than avoiding trouble. 29. The quiet strength, the wisdom of emotional control and thoughtful speech. Still waters run deep, and wise people speak less. The key to a person's elegance is controlling their emotions and not attacking others with their words. Remember, deep waters flow slowly. Wise people speak sparingly. Truly educated individuals are always humble and do not boast. Truly wealthy people are simple and not flashy. And those with real intelligence know to keep silent and speak only when necessary. Nikki Sixx once said, "A person who is angry seldom stops to consider their behavior. Indeed, no matter how smart, once angry, we cannot make the best and wisest decisions, often letting negative emotions take control. Words spoken in anger can deeply hurt others, while bringing you no benefit. This is behavior only fools engage in. No matter how tough you are, the heart still suffers wounds, whether intentional or not, leaving lasting scars. Speaking is a unique ability that sets humans apart from animals. However, some use this ability to utter insults, swear words, and crude comments that can hurt, sometimes even more than physical injuries. Unrestrained words are like swords, but the tongue of the wise is healing. Therefore, learning how to speak and behave properly is essential. Communication should focus more on quality than on quantity or appearance. There's a Chinese saying, "If roaring solved problems, donkeys would rule the world." Sometimes we might feel the urge to lash out at someone. When treated unfairly, we feel justified in punishing the offender with harsh words, either in their presence or behind their back. But the wise old saying goes, "The more words you use, the more mistakes you make, but he who holds his tongue is wise." So, in life and society, we must control our emotions and speak gently. This is how to make a good first impression. Even if not particularly attractive, some people still create a good impression at first sight with their speaking skills. Conversely, those who always seem irritable, like to complain, or use a sarcastic tone often leave a poor impression no matter how beautiful or talented they are. Seeking revenge through actions or words only makes you angrier, wastes time, and damages yourself. Instead, use that time to do something more beneficial and useful for yourself. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 30. 7 traits of quiet, reserved but insightful people. There's an old saying, empty vessels make the most noise, suggesting that speaking up isn't always wise. Those who talk less and observe more are often seen as more formidable. They might speak less, but their words carry deep meaning. While some think that shy people lack social skills, those who spend time reflecting and observing rarely speak without purpose, making them truly insightful and intelligent. So, what are they doing when they're quiet? 1. Quiet people are great observers. Extroverts spend a lot of time talking and interacting, while introverts use that time to observe their surroundings. They think a lot and constantly shift between topics in their minds, studying people and their environment to form useful and accurate opinions. 2. They value and appreciate others' opinions. Speaking less allows them to make others feel valued and listened to. By patiently listening, they gather knowledge, enhancing their problem-solving and communication skills. 3. They are mindful about what they say. They avoid speaking without purpose. When they do talk, they provide valuable insights that often leave others stunned. They base their decisions on what they observe and hear over time. 4. They spend time analyzing and critiquing. Quiet people don't jump to conclusions. They gather as much information as possible, preferring silence, which allows their minds to wander and reflect. 5. They have an independent mindset. Since introverts aren't socially active with noisy crowds, they reduce the risk of being influenced by gossip and drama. They take time to understand themselves, being cautious and independent. 6. Quiet people have a strong learning drive. Their incredible curiosity drives them to continually learn new things. They prefer spending their time writing or reading to expand their knowledge, engaging others with intellectually stimulating conversations. 7. They prioritize self-care. Spending time alone rather than partying allows them to explore their inner world and develop personally, resulting in better mental and emotional health. According to Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now, spending time exploring the inner self and managing one's thoughts and emotions leads to greater personal growth. Thinking is useful when you don't confuse it with who you are, and it becomes a problem only when you mistake it for your identity. 31. Mastering communication, the art of speaking less and listening more. 1. Wise people speak less. Fools talk a lot. Few overcome life's storms, not because challenges are insurmountable, but because they don't understand their origins. To escape life's difficulties, it's crucial to pinpoint the problem's source first. For most people, their lives aren't grand, so their problems often stem from seemingly minor issues, usually originating from their own words and how they speak. Your fate is tied to your words. The way you speak shapes your life. Endlessly discussing your opinions can spiral your life out of control until you learn to communicate effectively, prompting the world to respond positively. 2. Learn to be silent. For many around the globe, the best communication skill to learn isn't about fancy words or tone, but silence. A chatty person is rarely seen as a skilled negotiator and often annoys others. Don't talk too much. Let your tongue rest and your ears work. Some love to talk incessantly, as if silence would kill them. Smart people know when to stay quiet, like the empty spaces in paintings that make them appreciated, not cluttered. Learn to speak less and listen more. Then your words will carry weight and respect. If you want to talk less, cultivate the habit of thinking first. If you can't stop talking, it's not because you're eloquent, but because you lack the skill to filter your thoughts. First, develop a habit of distinguishing between what's useful to say and what's not, then you'll manage your words better. 3. Kind words, warm hearts. We all seek recognition. Harsh words will only push people away, but kind words can foster goodwill and make you appear kind. Our understanding of life and rational thoughts are often conveyed through our words. Your competence depends on how you speak. Most people we meet are acquaintances by chance, but some may become friends. Just a few words in a casual chat can earn you recognition, while others might repel people with just one sentence. Kind words reflect your character, so learn to use your words wisely and control your speech to communicate smoothly and broaden your social circle. 4. Avoid malicious speech. Constant criticism only exposes your flaws. If you persist, you'll find people drifting away from you. Everyone has faults. Smart people never criticize others except to offer constructive feedback to help them improve because they know most people prefer praise and fear criticism. Understanding human nature helps avoid communication pitfalls. Judging others is foolish. No one tolerates being scrutinized too closely, including yourself. By avoiding common pitfalls, your life can gain a fresh perspective. 32. 3 timeless communication tips from ancient diplomat Guy GUZI. 1. When speaking with people of high status, maintain your confidence. In the past, these were nobles or wealthy officials. Nowadays, they might be successful professionals or academics. When you're around such individuals, it's important not to be intimidated. Instead, be polite, relaxed, and confident. This ensures they respect you, regardless of their status. 2. Be sincere when talking to wise individuals. Wise people can often understand more from less and might see through insincerity. To effectively communicate with them, be genuine and straightforward. This will make them more likely to respond positively and treat you with similar respect. 3. Avoid discussing money with deceitful people. When interacting with those who might have questionable intentions, it's crucial to be cautious with your words and actions, especially regarding money or personal benefits. Keeping such topics off the table helps prevent any manipulation or jealousy from arising. These lessons, distilled from GUZI's experiences, can significantly enhance your daily interactions if learned and applied. 33. Timeless communication, the art of speaking with wisdom and respect. 1. Wisdom in communication. Speaking is an art. The wise are cautious with their words, speaking from the heart only when it's appropriate and timely. A skilled communicator makes everyone feel included, and such people are often sought after as friends. 2. Respectful behavior. A gentleman is careful about his actions, looks, and speech in the presence of others. He avoids saying or doing anything inappropriate. 3. Public matters should not be discussed privately. Public issues should be discussed openly. Discussing them privately can lead to suspicions of dishonest intentions. 4. Avoid trivial topics at serious times. In formal settings, don't discuss lighthearted or unrelated entertainment topics like dog races or horse races. Maintain professionalism and respect for the job. 5. Avoid inappropriate topics at work. When at work, don't talk about personal relationships or make jokes about such topics. Speak appropriately for the situation. 6. Speak according to your environment. At the office, talk about office matters. In government, discuss government issues. Align your discussions with your environment to maintain respect and relevance. 7. Show respect during sorrowful or solemn times. During mourning or ceremonial times, avoid lighthearted or violent discussions. Show respect with your tone and behavior. 8. Speak appropriately for your role. If your role requires you to speak on certain matters, do so. It's shameful for a gentleman to avoid responsibilities or to speak without taking action. 9. Respect higher authorities in conversation. When speaking with superiors, let them lead the conversation. Wait for them to finish asking before responding. Interrupting or speaking out of turn is disrespectful. 10. Consider others when speaking. In a group setting, observe everyone before you respond to a question. Being too eager can be seen as impolite. Speak sincerely from the heart, but also carefully and appropriately for the context and setting. 34. Roots and tops. Once upon a time, there was a young man who always liked to show off in front of others. One day, his master took him to a tree and asked, "Do you think this treetop is beautiful?" "Of course, it's absolutely beautiful with all its fresh blooming flowers," the disciple quickly replied. Just then, a breeze blew and the treetop rustled. The master asked again, "Did you hear that?" "Of course I did. The sound of the treetop is so clear and pleasant," the young man hastily answered. "But do you know what treetop is called in Chinese? It's called mat." After saying this, the master pointed to the tree's base and said, "Do you see the roots? Do you hear any sound from them?" The young man frowned and answered, "Well, the roots are buried in the ground. How can I see them? And they are silent. How can I hear any noise from them, master?" "But do you know what roots are called in Chinese? They are called ben," the master explained. "This means even though the treetop full of flowers might sway and catch the attention of those around, it is very fragile. A strong wind could break it easily and it would be worthless afterward. On the other hand, the tree base, although quiet and even buried under the ground, is the foundation of life. Without it, there would be no tree, no leaves, no branches, and of course, the flowers on the treetop wouldn't have the chance to sway and show off in the wind. Do you understand what I mean?" The young man nodded quietly, absorbing the lesson from his master. From then on, he became more reserved, spoke very cautiously, and especially never showed off in front of others again. 35. The Art of Speaking. Wisely, lessons from Zhuangzi NHA. Zhuangzi NHA once taught about the way a gentleman should speak. There are times when we need to keep our mouths shut and be careful with our words. This famous quote comes from Tai Kong Kim Kui when he advised King Chu Vu. The message, which has been passed down through generations, emphasizes the importance of being cautious with one's words. Throughout history, successful people have paid close attention to the art of speaking, and even Confucius said, "Be cautious with words and sensitive and intelligent in actions." There's a saying, "Trouble comes from the mouth," meaning careless talk can not only hurt others but also bring problems upon oneself. Thus, well-cultured people don't speak recklessly or without basis. They think carefully, are mindful, and restrain themselves. They don't ramble or boast about themselves. Wise people use their brains to speak rather than just their mouths. Before any conversation, you should think carefully about what to say and what not to say, when to speak, and how to say it. You know, every word and sentence you utter can either make or break you. Just as you cannot eat carelessly, you should not speak without reason. In life, one must refrain from sharp words that hurt others and maintain a standard of conduct, a crucial rule for interacting with everyone. 36. 10 things you should never say to anyone. 1. Avoid discouraging words. Everyone faces hard times and feels stuck sometimes. Life isn't as tough as it seems. It's about thinking more openly and positively. Constant negativity and discouraging remarks can drown you in despair. Encourage yourself if no one else does. 2. Avoid angry words. Anger is like poison to oneself. It's a natural reaction to frustrating situations, but excessive anger can lead to damaging actions. Think before you speak in anger, as harsh words can hurt others deeply and have lasting effects. 3. Don't complain or blame. Constant complaints and blame can alienate others and lead to conflicts. Instead of venting dissatisfaction everywhere, focus on resolving issues constructively. 4. Don't hurt others with your words. Words can be the most dangerous weapons. Careless or intentional hurtful comments can leave deeper scars than physical wounds. Be mindful of your words, as they can profoundly affect others. 5. Avoid boasting. Bragging about oneself can irritate others and may lead to losing what you're proud of. True pride comes from being humble and not showing off your achievements or possessions. 6. Avoid lying. Lying breaks trust and can lead to harmful consequences, as seen in the story of the boy who cried wolf. Always strive to speak the truth. 7. Don't reveal secrets. Keeping secrets, whether personal or professional, is crucial. Disclosing sensitive information can lead to severe consequences, so always consider the seriousness before sharing. 8. Keep personal matters private. Everyone has their private affairs, which should be respected. Revealing someone else's private matters can show a lack of integrity. 9. Be cautious with new acquaintances. Don't share your deepest feelings and secrets with someone you've just met. Wait until you truly know their character and trustworthiness. 10. Don't talk about your future goals. Carelessly, sharing your plans can sometimes decrease your motivation to achieve them, as highlighted by studies like those by Professor Peter Gallwitzer. Keep your goals to yourself to maintain focus and avoid unnecessary scrutiny. By following these guidelines, you can maintain better relationships and personal integrity. 37. The power of a focused life. Kazuo Inamori is a name many book lovers might recognize. This legendary Japanese businessman wrote his final book late in life, at nearly 90 years old. Within just a year, it was translated into 15 languages and became a global bestseller. In it, Kazuo Inamori distilled his life's wisdom into one word: heart. With over 80 years of experience from a fulfilling and successful life, he tells us that everything starts and ends with the heart. Everything you encounter in life is attracted by your own heart. By cultivating a pure heart, you can live the life you desire. What's the foundation for lasting success? First, connecting with the heart of the universe. Inamori, who started from humble beginnings, founded Kyocera at 27 and KDDI at 52. Both are now among the top 500 global companies. At 78, he took over as chairman of Japan Airlines and turned it around from near bankruptcy to profitability in just 1 year. His success across various fields wasn't due to wealth or complex business strategies, but because he believed that all success stems from a selfless heart. Altruism, simply put, means always considering others. Acts driven by altruism tend to succeed, often surpassing expectations. Before beginning any task, Inamori would ask if it was driven by altruism. He believed that any act rooted in goodwill and considering others' well-being inevitably leads to positive outcomes. For example, when he took over Japan Airlines amid financial crisis, he initially declined due to his age and lack of aviation experience. However, he reconsidered, seeing the potential to stabilize Japanese society, protect 32,000 jobs, and maintain public convenience. As Confucius said, seeing the right thing and failing to act is cowardice. Inamori's leadership at Japan Airlines, driven by altruism, quickly led to recovery. Today, many people live solely to fulfill their own desires, relentlessly pursuing material wealth and status. However, Inamori argues that the true purpose of life is to cultivate a kind heart and give to others. He reached his positions not just through ambition, but by living a life dedicated to others, which he believes is the law of the universe. The more you give, the more you receive. A selfless heart not only paves the way for others but also enriches one's own life. Inamori stresses the importance of never giving up, regardless of difficulties. His tenacity during Kiyokera's early challenges, like meeting IBM's high standards, underscored his belief in perseverance. In his book, he also highlights gratitude, humility, and diligence as the three pillars for a happy life. No matter what happens, good or bad, we should be thankful. Life's positives are not everlasting, and appreciating them as well as the struggles can foster resilience and growth. In conclusion, Inamori believes that everything in life starts and ends with the heart. By maintaining a focus on selflessness and resilience, we align ourselves with the universe's heart, leading to a life filled with unexpected success and deep fulfillment.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.